Hey there, welcome back to Bloodborne. Today, we are going to be exploring the rest of the research hall, after our untimely death at the end of the last episode. You may recall that we walked into this room and, we got pooped on a little bit. But then we went to explore some cells, discovered some lore, and now we're back to, see the rest of the nightmare that the research hall has to offer us. There wasn't even really anything good in this room either. There was really no point in me coming in here. But something I enjoy about the research hall is that it carries on a pretty interesting principle of Bloodborne's design, which is that they give you a lot of chances to see places that you've already been, from higher above, or from below, in the case of places like the view of the Forbidden Forest after Bergenworth, or in Bergenworth, you know what I mean. And nowhere is this design philosophy more prevalent than here in the research hall, an area that is pretty much entirely vertical in nature. I would compare it a little bit to the Tower of Latria of Demon Souls. It's very similar in the way that all of the wings on either side of the building are the same shape and size, and it's just how you get around to those various floors that makes the area interesting. And speaking of which, you may recall that in the last episode, I said that it was very easy to accidentally do this area out of order and unlock both shortcuts at once. Well, I just did it, because just adjacent to this shortcut elevator that goes halfway down is another shortcut elevator that goes all the way down. But for a reason that you're going to see later on in this very episode, they actually kind of had to lay it out this way. Making both shortcuts accessible from the top is actually pretty important to how this level is laid out, and I'll explain when that becomes relevant. For now, we've got a nice, wonderful library here where they were conducting lots of fun experiments. Fun experiments such as randomly sticking sharp instruments into people just to see what happens. You know, normal stuff that happens all the time in medical care facilities. I got a feeling that the research hall isn't exactly the safest place to get your blood transfusion done. And so with this second elevator, we have made a complete circuit. There was a locked door on the first floor of the research hall, and now we're back to the other side of it.
Is that you, Lady Maria? No. You're someone else.
Good day. You look reasonably sane.
Please, could you do something for me? I need brain fluid. Murky, mushy brain fluid. Please, could you do something for me? I need brain fluid. Murky, mushy brain fluid.
Yeah, I guess I can do that. Since I'm not really doing much else right now except for exploring around. You know, plumbing the depths of the nightmare, as Simon so masterfully put it. That is really what we're doing right now, isn't it? We're just kind of wandering around, letting whatever happens happen. The nightmare has such sights to show us, and well, we're gonna see them. So okay, I guess if I come across any brain fluid just lying around, I'll keep an eye out. Well, that was silly. You gotta watch your footing, man. This is a very, this is not a very OSHA-compliant place.
Oh, Lady Murray, save me, please. I don't hear anything.
Hearing a lot about this Lady Maria. That name sounds so familiar to me. but I just can't place where we've heard it before. Very strange. Oh well. I'm sure it's not important. Hey, by the way, there are loose tiles on the floor that you can walk over, and they will cause nearby shelves to explode, which is odd. I don't know why they would have that functionality, but okay. And we've unlocked the shortcuts, but we still can't actually get to that door that leads out onto the balconies. We're slightly closer now. We've opened the way to the other half of the research hall, because we've been mostly sticking to the left side so far. But maybe if we explore the right side for a little while, we'll find a way up. But first, look at this! We're outside! How about that? There's Canehurst over there. Or at least, what would be Canehurst in the real world. And, that second Grand Cathedral is just hanging out over there. I'm not really sure why it's there. Very odd. Hi.
Plop, blip, plop.
Well, you didn't have any brain fluid on you. That's kind of unfortunate. I sort of feel bad now. There's also something familiar about that courtyard. Again, I just can't place what it is. That's the strange thing about dreams, is that sometimes you see familiar places, familiar people, familiar surroundings. But what's weird is that, like, you can never remember in the moment where they're supposed to be from. It's only after you wake up that you look around and say, oh, I've been here before. Really odd. So yeah, this is the last floor. And after this, we don't really have anything else to explore. We've been everywhere. Just about. That's the interesting thing about the research hall's layout and design, is that you can kind of go everywhere before you beat the level, even with its really non-standard layout. Again, it's really clever. It is cleverly designed so that the main path doesn't actually take you everywhere, but you can still go everywhere just by exploring all of your options before proceeding. It really is like the Tower of Latria in that way. It's really interesting to see From Software applying the lessons that they learned in some of their earliest games. Oh hey! Some new duds. Well, that's nice. Put that on. The decorative hunter garb is one of my favorite sets in the game. It's kind of cool. What it is it's actually it's just the same as the old hunter garb, minus the coat. So if you were wondering what a hunter's jacket looks like underneath the trench coat, well, there you go. Additionally, like the old hunter pants, the decorative old hunter set also has the little metal brace on the right leg, the same leg that you inject the blood vial into when you heal, because of a quote-unquote supposed old superstition that Beasthood crept up the right leg. Which is funny, because of the plague blood, it turned out that that's actually true. It really does do that. So that's kind of interesting. For some reason, the old hunter set, the decorative old hunter set rather, doesn't come with any gloves. So that's kind of weird. We're carrying around 100,000 souls, which is making me nervous. So before we proceed forward, I think we're gonna head back to the dream, just for some respite. And the unfortunate thing, really, is that I don't have much to use these souls for at this point. Sorry, blood echoes. Because leveling up is getting, kinda expensive.
Welcome home, good hunter. I must have drifted off. What is it you desire?
Yeah, you're not the only one dreaming tonight, lady. I find it interesting that the doll can fall asleep.
Farewell, good hunter. May you find your worth in the waking world.
Doing my best. The doll is very interesting when it comes to just how human she is for being literally a mannequin. Like, she can cry, she can feel emotions like love, she can think and act on her own, and she can fall asleep, which is very strange. I wonder what the doll dreams about. Like, I wonder what the doll sees when she falls asleep. We picked up this blood gem at the beginning of this episode, but rapid poison isn't actually that useful because not many enemies in the normal game are weak to it. And there are... I don't know if I've explained that, actually. I don't know if we've encountered rapid poison in the Let's Play so far. Rapid poison is basically bleed buildup. There are two forms of poison ailments in Bloodborne. There's normal poison, and then rapid poison, which does a set amount of damage as soon as it fills up. Rapid poison is very rare. There are only a few enemies that actually do it, but it's pretty useful in PvP. Just not versus enemies, because there aren't many enemies that are weak to it. It's like bleed, but nerfed. So back we go. Believe me when I say I'm going to need all of the blood vials that I just bought. We still don't have any brain fluid to give to this lady, so I guess we're just gonna let her be for now. You might notice that I'm going up and down these elevators a lot in this episode. I think I mentioned this briefly in the last one, but the research hall is laid out in a very non-standard way for Souls games, obviously. So, it's kind of led to this weird editing that I've had to do for the Let's Play, where the research hall is just too long for one episode, but it's not long enough for 2 episodes. So, I'm kinda lollygagging a little bit here, just to get it to be the right length. And we're not even done yet. There's one more research hall episode after this one, because we have some loose ends that we're going to be cleaning up around here in the earlier parts of the DLC. Because once we proceed forward, it might be a little hard to go back. Like that hunter down there. That hunter's just chilling out. I don't think we even have a way to get over there right now. But we'll find our way eventually. Because we haven't even encountered the gimmick for this area yet. That's how much straggling I've been doing. But this is one of my favorite areas in the game. Just because the gimmick is so cool and it's so simple but also effective at making the area look and feel different. So there's a big enemy here on this narrow staircase, and I always try to fight it on the stairs so that I can knock it off and not have to deal with it. And that works out approximately 0% of the time, give or take another 0%. It's much better to fight this enemy in safety over here. 'Cause like, the last thing I want to do is fall off like a big stupid idiot and then have to walk all the way back up here and edit out my trip. Because I'm already doing a lot of editing on the research hall episodes, to the point where you might not have noticed. There have been a couple of cuts so far that were so sneaky that you may not have actually noticed them. I encourage you to go back and try to find where I cut the video in the last episode, because I'm really proud of it. But it's hard to do seamless editing here in Bloodborne, because you've got all the HUD elements on screen all the time. In a game like Dark Souls, it's not so hard, because the... Uh-oh. Well, boy, do I feel like an idiot. Alright, well, I guess we're not ready for platforming yet, so... I found my way around to this hunter. Maybe let's try and take them on. Oh god, they have a repeating pistol. No, thanks. A repeating pistol and poison knives, so that's just wonderful. Thankfully, this hunter's repeating pistol does not do 500 billion damage like the Canehurst Crow's pistol did. Also, no katana, just a threaded cane. It's kind of cool that you fight a church hunter in the research hall. I think that's kind of, you know, it's appropriate. It's appropriate. They're using fancy pants church weapons, wearing the church gear, and they're attempting to beat me up, but it's not going very well for them. They're focusing a little too highly on dodging, I think. Anyway, like I was saying, before, you know, a certain someone may or may not have lost her footing in the rafters, editing Bloodborne has been a kind of a challenge, because all the HUD elements are always on screen, unlike Dark Souls 2 and 3, where they disappear when you're not using them. So, it's been really interesting.
Plop. Plip. Plop. Plip. Plop.
Right.
Plip. Plop. Plip. Plop.
Uh-huh.
Lady Maria, I'm a robin. Will I ever curl up and become an egg? What say you? Lady Maria. Lady Maria, say something. Anything.
You're kind of already an egg. And I have a question for you. Do you have any brain fluid? Yes, you do. And you're fine.
Lady Maria, I'm a robin.
Okay. That's weird. So, these things that are just heads, they will regenerate if you try and kill them. And you can beat them up to get brain fluid? Which is weird, but okay. I don't know. You know, I guess maybe I should stop questioning it at this point. I think it doesn't really matter anymore. Logic has no place here in the Hunter's Nightmare. I think. I don't know. Let's head back up there and try and do some beam walking again. It's kind of like walking on a tightrope, except the tightrope is a little bit more solid at least. Although it's exactly as easy. There have been a lot of complaints over the years about the platforming in Bloodborne being perhaps a little bit substandard. Specifically because the player doesn't have very much jumping ability, and like a lot of the falls include fall damage, like they're long enough to hurt you. So the precarious platforming coupled with the slightly slippery player hitbox has led people to be not quite fans of really high and dangerous heights like these rafters. But I don't mind them, because I'm always a contrarian when it comes to the Souls games. I don't really mind them. I think they're alright. They feel as dangerous as they probably would be. Like, at least these paths are, like, basically human width, you know? And there are some cool rats doing a conga over there. It could be worse is all I'm saying. I do wish this game had a dedicated jump button, though.
Listen close, and you too will hear the sound of water.
Weird. This guy doesn't have any brain fluid either. Should I feel bad for just ruthlessly mowing down these patients? Because, I mean, they're not hostile, but I think I'm kind of doing them a favor by putting them out of their misery. I mean, look at where they are. Do they even know that they're trapped in an alternate dimension? Are they even real? That's a question that's kind of important. How much of this is real, and how much of it is manufactured by the dream? Are these real creatures given life? Things to ponder as we push this lever. So, this is the gimmick of the research hall. When I said that we'd explored the whole place, what I actually meant was, we've explored everything that we can reach with the staircases. Because now, the whole place has gotten a little bit higher up, and we can access new areas.
Split, splash.
Have you heard how curiously the sea churns? Like a storm, but like the rain, only gentle, like dripping water. It bellows from deep inside of me. Here it comes, up through my inside, but gently, like little droplets.
What a weird question to be asked by something that's just ahead. Oh, crap. Ignore that. They really don't seem to mind it that much. They're like silly putty. Like you can mold silly putty into any shape, but eventually it'll go back to being its normal blobby self. They're like flubber being shoved into a grocery bag. Very strange. Do you hear that? Weird ambience. So yeah, now we've rotated the staircase, and this is why those two elevators are important. Because, without having access to both of them, we wouldn't really be able to get back up here. See, this is why the area design is so clever, is because they made it so that before you rotate the staircase, you can only access half the area. But with the way that the new staircases are laid out, we can access pretty much the whole thing still. So, basically, by permanently altering the shape of this area, at least I think it's permanent, I've never tried to push the stairs back down. By permanently altering the shape of this area, we opened up new paths without closing off the ones that existed. Oops! Okay, we're good. The Beast Hunter safe is a little bit, unwieldy, because the transform attack causes you to do a backwards hop, which is kind of dangerous in places that are not OSHA compliant and have no railings. So yeah, really neat area design. And now we can finally go outside. But we're not gonna do that just yet, I don't think. We're gonna try to find a safe way there because I would rather not break my ankles. Unless, I mean, you know, it doesn't look like that far of a drop, but, you know, maybe better safe than sorry. Or not. I suppose they're giving me an out, so I guess I'd better take it. we've still got some of the research hall to explore, hence why we've got one more episode left. But okay. I guess let's see what's behind the double doors number 3. I hope it's a Corvette and not a goat.
I have failed. Please, Lady Maria. I have failed. Please, Lady Maria.
Who is this Lady Maria? It's so familiar, but I just can't place it. Ah well. Into the great wide open we go! To fight something that's eerily familiar. Oh my. So, this is the Living Failures. The Living Failures are interesting. An interesting boss fight. Obviously they're kin, because they're blue and shoot magic. And they kind of look like the little blobby aliens, but not complete. We can kill them individually. It doesn't give us a health bar for each one, but unlike the Celestial Emissary, defeating one of these guys does take away from the health bar of the entire boss. So it's worth it to try and cull the herd so that they don't get too unwieldy, because they hit hard, and if you get comboed by a couple of them, it hurts. As you can see though, they don't stay gone for long. So in the last episode, I mentioned the goal of the research hall. And I implied, well, maybe more than a little bit implied, that the goal was to recreate blood saints, people with pure blood that can serve as hosts for the beast plague blood, the old blood, without turning into beasts themselves. Well, that was only half of it. See, I had a little bit of a discussion with the thread in between episodes, and really I didn't explain myself well enough. Because as we can see from the Living Failures, the real goal of the research hall was another method of creating kin. However, as we may find out by doing a certain side quest after defeating the Living Failures, that might not just be the whole story. Because the Blood Saints are important, which is why I mentioned them in the last episode. But I may have put the emphasis in the wrong place. So, mea culpa, I suppose. You might notice that the Living Failures have a lot of health. This is a very long boss fight, and very dangerous, because it's an endurance battle, it really is. I like the music though. The music is great. We haven't even heard all of it yet. We ain't done. What, you think this is all the Living Failures have to offer us? No. They may be failures, but they're still kin. Even though they're failures, in some ways, they were successful, the research hall doctors, at creating something that can contact beyond the stars. God, I love that musical stinger so much. Welcome to the second phase, where they get a little bit more magic. The second phase music is some of my favorite in the game. It's so like alien invasion. It's great. It's kind of a shame, actually, that this music ended up with this boss fight, because the epic nature of the music is not entirely appropriate for the type of boss fight this is. But even still, I really like this fight. It's got a very cool, interesting atmosphere to it. That they really make you feel like you're fighting some weird, immortal, like, space contacting gribbly dudes. And to be fair, at this stage in the game, that's becoming slightly more common, isn't it? That's kind of Bloodborne's thing in its final stages. But with that, we have defeated the living failures. So in that way, I suppose they have failed. Let's take a look around before we head forward into a slightly familiar looking clock tower. As you can see, far off in the distance, Yharnam looks a little different than usual. The nightmare has kind of warped this place into a weird pastiche of what it usually looks like. I love the colors. The combination of the dull gray and the sickly yellow. It makes for a very unnerving atmosphere. Especially the fog. Those of you that actually know where we are may have noticed that a certain building is missing. It's not over there either. Although you can see a connection to where the Hunter's Workshop once was. The orphanage isn't in here either, but we'll discuss that in the next episode. I think that'll do it for now. I've had enough for one day. I'll see you all next time when we finish off the research hall and proceed into the Astral Clock Tower.